Greetings, Poke fans! Shotgun into 1000 here, we're putting for duty, welcoming you to another level side video of a top 10 video for of Pokemon that should happen for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I'm not sure if I scared any of you then, because I wanted to make it look like a surprise kind of video, because we're about to be covering option 2 of the top 10 list that of Pokemon that I should think introduced in they said Omega Ruby then. Again, this is what I'm like when I get overexcited, people. I get myself muddled up in my words all the time and I eventually lose track of what I'm saying. So yeah, in the last recording you saw me cover a top 10 video of possible Pokemon that I want to have a Mega Evolution. And the number one spot had to be Primeape, obviously, because I think Primeape hasn't really been having much love ever since it was first created. And I think it's only fair for Primeape to actually receive a Mega. So, obviously, what you saw me do there in the start of the video, saying greetings, Pokefans, that's originally Michael's catchphrase from when he does his videos talking about the top 10 as well as Omega of his Pokemon Ruby randomizer Nuzlocke, in other words, where his Pokemon team is switched between his Whoosh, which is Haunter, his Walrein, Rhydon, etc. And I'm actually currently watching that Let's Play at the minute. So, Michael, if you're watching this video, even though you probably have no idea who the hell I am, kudos to you, because you are doing something that I've always fancied doing, but never had the opportunity to do it because of my laptop being a complete and utter jackass. Because every single day, my laptop is like, slow, and then I never get anything done. It always lags over everything, and I'm just like really pissed off with it. So, yeah, with that being said, there's nothing else to actually talk about, really. So let's say we get started in announcing our top 10 list. Now, before I actually cover what it is, let me just say it is a list it is generally a list that nobody has even thought about. Now, personally, I do not know how well this might go because, to be honest, well, it might sound like a stupid idea, because, for starters, bits of it might not make sense, bits of it probably might, but we never know unless we cover it. So, without being further ado, let's get started. Here we go, my friends. It's now time to reveal the next top 10 list for Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. This list, as I mentioned earlier, no one has actually mentioned a list like this before. It is the top 10 Pokemon who have a Mega Evolution already that I want to have an Alola form in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Now, what I mean by this is the Pokemon that have already been given the Pokemon that have already been given a Mega Evolution back in Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, and X and Y, I would like them to possibly have an Alola form when Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon comes out. I'm not saying for definite that this will work, but I believe that this is actually a unique method, because we've had a Mega Evolution, we've had an Alola form. So why not have both? Why not have both an Alola form and a Mega form put together? It will make it look more interesting and more satisfying for people to play the game. Sorry, I can't actually hold onto my iPad steady because obviously I have shaky hands, in other words. So there you go. It's now time to go to number 10, which I have decided. Originally, I was thinking the Kanto starter Pokemon, but then I realized, hang on, that will make no sense whatsoever. So I altered it, and I put it down for Bagon, Shelgon, and Salamence. Now, I didn't really put much thought into the typings for these Pokemon, but as you remember, Bagon was first brought into the Hoenn region, as you remember, but in Sun and Moon, you was actually able to find a Bagon in the wild in Route 3. It was very rare, only a 10% chance, but you were still able to find one. And it was found in the grassy area by the seaside in Route 3. So I thought, why not make it a little bit interesting to make Bagon, Shelgon, and Salamence to be something related to either water or ground to go with the dragon type. Because I don't think anybody would be satisfied with a dragon flying type anytime soon, as well as water flying or ground flying, because if you change Salamence's type from dragon flying to ground flying, then there's no point, because he's still got a quad disadvantage to ice, and the water flying quad disadvantage to electric, so there's no point. So why not make it the water dragon type, like Kingdra and Palkia? Because I think having a water dragon type would be very interesting, because we've only had 2 water dragon types introduced, and I already mentioned who they are. So, to choose exactly what Salamence's Mega form would look like in the Alola form, I would not be able to predict it. But it would be interesting nonetheless. Now for number 9, I have chosen Ganga! Ganga! Everybody's gotta love him. Except for his typing, of course. Now, I did put some thinking and thought into Ganga, because originally he was a ghost poison type, and he still is now. But why not make him an interesting typing of putting him as a dark poison type, but he still keeps his main ability, Levitate. Yeah, believe it or not, when a Pokemon is a dark poison type, they only have one weakness, which is ground. And if he has Levitate for the ability, unless he Mega Evolves, he will have no weakness whatsoever, which I find to be very interesting nonetheless. Of course, it would be really hard to think of a Mega Alola form for Gengar personally. I still think he should keep his design, but just have it recolored, if you know what I mean. I think, because obviously with Gengar able to learn many certain moves like Focus Blast, Dark Pulse, Shadow Ball, Energy Ball, Sludge Bomb, etc., I think it might be interesting if Gengar was able to learn a lot more variety of moves that might help him in the future. Like, something like, I don't know, a water type move? Because ghosts like to make people jump, so why not make people jump from the water? But obviously that would make no sense. Now for number 8, I have chosen Pinsir, the Stag Beetle Pokemon. Originally, when I first heard of Pinsir's Mega Evolution, straight away I did not like its typing of Bug, Flying, and have Aerialate for the ability. I did not like it one bit. Mainly because of the fact it's stupid, it makes Pinsir incredibly weak, and yeah. So I decided on having an Alola form for Mega Pinsir to be a Bug Rock type, because we've only had one Bug Rock type Pokemon in the whole entire Pokemon atmosphere, which is Olmoldo. And I don't like the fact that Olmoldo is the only Bug Rock type, so I think he should highly deserve to have another Bug Rock type to be Pinsir, which makes a lot of sense personally, because it makes his typing more interesting. It makes him more of an offensive, more of an offensive Pokemon than a Pokemon that just dies in one hit, if you know what I mean. If a Alola form Pinsir would actually happen, I would want him to have a huge boost in his defense stats, because like I say, Pinsir, regardless if it's a Mega or not, cannot take a single hit. And I want that to change. Following on with number 7, I have decided on Steelix. Now, personally, I've got no doubts about Steelix. is typing a steel ground type is very interesting because we haven't really had a lot of them. So I thought it makes kind of sense if you know what I mean. But why not keep him as a rock type to be a steel type as well? Because you know when he mega evolves, those spikes that stick out of his body are actually, well, diamonds. And diamonds are known to be found in rocks. So I thought making him a rock and steel type. And yes, I know that would put him under a quad disadvantage to ground and fighting. But why not make him have filter for the ability like Mega Aggron does? So why not give Mega Steelix the same ability as Mega Aggron, where he will weaken some of the super effective attacks? So just give me a minute. I'm just going to be back in just a sec, okay? And we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. Just had to do a little quick break because I heard somebody send a message to me on Facebook, and I wanted to check what it was quickly. Plus, I needed to use the toilets, if you know what. Well, obviously you would know what I mean if you hear the word toilet, because everybody's got to use the toilet at some point. Now, anyway, we've mentioned number 7 of Steelix, so let's now go down to number 6, which is Heracross. Now, obviously it would make sense for me to actually include Heracross in this list since I mentioned Pinsir. I'm not going to lie, I love Heracross. Heracross is one of my all-time favourite Pokemon. It's not one of my greatest Pokemon that I love the most because there is many other Pokemon that does beat Heracross in my top 10 favourite list of all time. Which I still need to go over in my head of what my top 10 favourite Pokemon are of all time, because it takes a lot of time to think of 10 Pokemon over 100 yeah. Let me start again. It is really hard for me to think of a top 10 list of my favourite Pokemon in the entire Pokemon atmosphere out of 802 Pokemon to be created. Now anyway, the reason why I thought of Heracross to have an Alola form Mega is just like Pinsir, I don't fancy Heracross having a quad disadvantage anymore. I mean, it makes it hard for Heracross to be used in battle, even though he is a really good offensive Pokemon. He can deal a lot of damage, but he just can't take any flying type hits. So I thought, since he's known as a, well, I'm wanting to say that this one's known as a stag beetle, but really, Pinsir is. But I think Heracross looks like a stag beetle as well, but I think it looks more like a dung beetle or something, I don't know. So I thought, why not make Heracross a bug ground type? Because you know you most likely find ground types on... You mainly find bugs in the ground, is what I was meant to say. Got my words muddled up again. So, yeah. It makes sense, really, to have a bug ground type for Heracross, because I don't think we've actually had a bug ground type in ages. Last bug ground type I can think of is Wormadam, when you level it up in the cave, or on the seaside, or whatever. Because I know Wormadam has 3 forms. It's got bug grass in the forest, or grassy fields, bug steel if you level it up inside a building, or bug ground if you level it up inside a cave or on the beach. So why not have another bug ground type just to add type diversity? Okay, now for number 5. Hang on. There, number 5, Gardevoir. Now, I love Gardevoir by all means. I got nothing against it, but I think there might be a unique way to make Gardevoir look more interesting. Because you know how Gardevoir's mega shiny form looks? It looks like he's visiting somebody's funeral, while his normal mega form looks like he's going to a wedding. Yeah? Okay, just think. Normal Mega Gardevoir is getting married. Normal Mega Gardevoir is getting married, and shiny Mega Gardevoir is going to a funeral. Yeah? So I thought, why not make Gardevoir lose the Psychic type and become a Fairy Ghost type like Mimikyu? Because it makes sense for the shiny side. It doesn't really make much sense for the normal version of Gardevoir. But I think it may look interesting for Gardevoir because it gets rid of his weakness of poison. I don't think it gets rid of steel, but it does get rid of his weakness over many things. Yes, Gardevoir will still be weak to Dark and Ghost. Actually, no, not Dark. Gardevoir was not weak to Dark when the Fairy type was introduced. So, it would still be weak to Ghost, it would still be weak to Steel, but I'm just not too sure about the other type weaknesses. I think it would be interesting for Gardevoir nonetheless, because I think Gardevoir needs to have a bit of an improvement, if you kind of get what I mean. Because, like I say, I got nothing against Gardevoir. I just think it may look more appealing if it gave something to help her out a bit more. Okay? Now for number 4. Altaria. Now, without a doubt, I love Altaria's Mega Form of Dragon Fairy. It's the only Dragon Fairy type that's actually been introduced. But, I actually realised we've never had a Fairy Flying type ever to be introduced. So that's where this idea came into play. A Fairy Flying Altaria straight away will do good for me. He will obviously learn a lot of interesting moves because he can obviously learn Moonblast. So why not help teach him a bit more of a fairy side, and as well as possibly moves to help cover his weaknesses maybe? But that's just me. I think Fairy Flying would be unique for Altaria because of the fact it just may look a bit more appealing for Altaria. Because how on earth does a Pokemon with cloud wings look like a dragon? That's what I want to know. Even though I am using Altaria in my team in Pokemon Coliseum in my Let's Play, I love Altaria and I just love to see a Fairy Flying type at the same time. Now for number 3, you already heard that I mentioned about Gardevoir, so why not include Bayonet? Okay, that was actually a mix-up then. You thought I was going to mention Gallade then, didn't you? But you never know. You never know. Now, obviously, with Bayonet, I'm not the sort of guy who likes to judge on many things, but I think Bayonet needs a huge improvement with his typing as well as his whole appearance, because it's fair enough, yes, he's known as the puppet Pokemon. It scares people because he stays perfectly still and then he haunts people in their dreams or sleeps or whatever. I don't even understand the proper storyline based on Bayonet, but the plain typing of Ghost and the fact that he's not really defensive at all, it sounds like he's a rough copy of Sableye. So it's only fair to make him a dark ghost type just like Sableye and Spiritomb because, well, Spiritomb is able to take hits. Sableye is not. Bayonet is definitely not able to. And plus his attack stats are not really good either, plus he's really slow. His base stats are like really low all the way through. So I think Bayonet should have a massive improvement in his stats. And also to be a dark ghost type. Okay, now for number 2. There he is. Gallade. Now, with Gallade, without a doubt, obviously you saw the type thing that I suggested there. Gallade is known to be Gardevoir's knight in shining armor, in other words, which is why I decided to have a Mega Gardevoir Alola form to be Steel and Fighting. Part of me feels like that we've not actually had a Steel Fighting type before. I feel like we might have. Oh yes, yeah, so we have had a Steel Fighting type. We had Cobalion. Cobalion, obviously, because Cobalion is the only Steel Fighting type to ever be introduced since the Unova region, and I feel like that there should be another Steel Fighting type. Plus, it makes sense for Gallade because, like I said earlier, Gallade is Gardevoir's knight in shining armor, meaning Gardevoir is like the damsel in distress and always relies on Gallade to help save her. So, to make Gallade look like a proper knight, why not make him an actual steel fighting type? Because it makes a lot of sense. Because he will fight for his damsel's life, and plus, he's got a heart of steel, so like he actually cares very much about Gardevoir, if you know what I mean. And lastly, Garchomp. Now I'm going to move my iPad away from the laptop for a bit, because well, I want you to see what I actually have to say about this. Okay. Now, the main gimmick with Garchomp to have a Alola form Mega is to be a Dragon Water type, because obviously it makes sense of the fact that, well, he's a land shark. It makes sense for him to be a Dragon Ground type, but I think it'd be better off if he'd be another Dragon Water type. Because, well, like I say, well, like what I mentioned with the first one of Salamence, I think we need more Dragon Water types. Because we can't just rely on Kingdra as well as Palkia. We need more of a certain type. So, yeah. Because he's able to learn moves like Aqua Tail. So why not make Garchomp more of a hybrid attacker and able to help teach him Scold or something? Just something to help Garchomp out a bit. So, yeah. That is my top 10 of the brand new list that no one has actually introduced before of Alola forms for Pokemon that have Mega Evolutions. Many of you will probably be thinking like, I don't know personally if that is going to work. But you never know. Things can change. Because Nintendo have always come up with lots of unique ideas like, I don't know, Mudstale to have stamina to boost his defense stats every time he takes a super effective hit. Well, mainly his physical defense, not special, but still. It's still different and it's still appealing, but even though he has that ability, he still can't take a single hit. He really can't. So, with it coming to that, I'm going to call it an end to this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I did doing the recording. It took me a hell of a long time to think of this list, and I hope you appreciate me for what I thought of. If you think of all top 10 lists that I have done of Alola forms, Megas, and Alolan Megas, if you think there might be some Pokemon that does deserve if you think there might be some Pokemon that deserve to be in the list in your opinion, please leave a comment in below and let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time in my recordings of Over the Hedge or Pokemon Coliseum. See you guys then.